This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our growing family of broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Australia, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. If you'd like to give us a call toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. That's 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Dan Greene, and we're going to be talking about a new film that is out there exploring the concept that the Catholic Church was implicit in a holy genocide. The name of the film is The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. Our guest, Dan Greene, has spent many years on a quest to uncover many secrets based around his home city of London, England. But nothing has come close to his latest shocking revelation that there is evidence for an actual murder of Mary Magdalene and the child she was carrying at the time. The child, according to Dan Greene, of Jesus Christ himself. Thoroughly prepared for a Dan Brown backlash, Dan Greene has learned that sometimes such secrets are knowingly safeguarded and coded by secretive societies. This, according to the author, is when the mysterious mechanism of the collective unconscious will ensure keywords, phrases, and pictorial clues are perpetrated by the unwitting medium of the human agency, waiting to be intuitively spotted and gathered up like a join-the-dots puzzle to preserve our true memory picture. Joining me now from his home in mid-England is Dan Greene. And Dan, welcome to the X-Zone. A great pleasure having you with us.
Hello, Robin. Greetings from Lincoln in England.
Tell me, where did your interest in Mary Magdalene and the murder of Mary Magdalene come from?
Right, we need to start at the start, Rob.
Okay.
I picked up the gauntlet thrown down by the Rennes-le-Château mystery that I hope you may have heard of.
Yes.
It inspired the Holy Blood, Holy Grail million-seller book. It inspired Dan Brown.
Yes.
And his Da Vinci Code. Now, I went to Rennes-le-Château as far back as 1986, when the mystery was very young. It's now global proportions. And all we knew at the time was that it had something to do, some secret concerning Mary Magdalene. The parish priest at the time, Berenger Sonia, during the 1890s, had found some sort of secret in his church. And he consequently inherited a vast fortune, which we suspect had something to do with bribing the Vatican. So anyway, I went to Rennes-le-Château to do my research in 1986. Mm-hmm. Now, it's high up a hill. At the top of the hill is a Mary Magdalene church, and inside the church, strangely enough, is a statue of a demon. Now, what I realized was that at Lincoln in England, if we go to Lincoln Cathedral, that is also high up a hill. It was built on a Mary Magdalene church, and it also has within it a demon statue.
Right.
So straight away I noticed the parallels.
You and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break, Dan. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to see a trailer of the murder of Mary Magdalene, genocide of the Holy Bloodline, go to www.youtube.com and type in Dan Greene or type in the murder of Mary Magdalene, or you can even go to www.reality-entertainment.com, and there's a link to it there. You'll find it very interesting, very intriguing. and filled with possibilities. Dan Greene is our special guest, and Dan and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues live from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Once again, if you'd like to send us an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And for more information on Dan Greene, or if you'd like to find out more about the murder of Mary Magdalene, genocide of the Holy Bloodline, visit www.reality-entertainment.com. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers its certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience journey trance, power animals, helping spirits, sacred space, and life purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com. Dan Greene is my special guest this hour, Exo Nation. We're talking about a new movie that is out. It explores the concept that the Catholic Church was implicit in a holy genocide. The name of the film is The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. Dan, there is a question I would like to ask you at this time. In the information that we received from the good people at Reality Entertainment, it says, and I'd just like to read it again here, there is evidence for the actual murder of Mary Magdalene and the child she was carrying at the time. The child, according to Dan Greene, of Jesus Christ himself. So we're saying that Mary Magdalene was carrying the child of Christ?
Yes, this had been said a little bit before, and I think Dan Brown has picked up on that on the Da Vinci Code as well. But this was the very earliest understanding of what the Rennes-le-Château mystery was trying to suppress, really. So I'm not original in saying that Mary Magdalene was the partner to Jesus Christ. A lot of people have said that, especially in recent times. But whereas they understand that a child was born and a bloodline resultant, I'm actually saying the rather disturbing news that Mary Magdalene was demised and there was no bloodline. That's the difference. Where do the Knights Templar come into this entire equation? Well, actually, if we go back historically to the period 1110 to 1120, the Templars discovered some amazing secret under the Temple Mount in Sion, Jerusalem. And to this day, everybody still argues over what that secret was that they found. And I believe this is exactly what we're discussing, that they had evidence that Mary Magdalene had been a partner to Jesus Christ, that there had been a pregnancy, but that Mary was demised. Maybe you can help me understand something, Dan. As far as I know, Jesus was a rabbi. It was nothing unusual for a rabbi to be married and have a family. So why? That's quite right. So why would this be such a devastating secret that this genocide and these secrets had to be covered up? That Christ was married and going to be a father. Well, the Christian Church, the angle that they have on it, that Jesus Christ was a divinity and that he couldn't succumb to human frailty and therefore, did not engage in sexual activity, and that if he did do, he was more of a human being than a divinity or God himself. That's why they find the idea of him having a partner so distasteful. Isn't that strange, especially since his father, God, created everyone on this planet? So I don't understand the logic behind it. Mind you, I'm not in that business. I'm just in the business of asking questions. Can you treat us to some examples of your decoding of the Rennes-le-Château parchments? Right. Well, when I came, I'd been to Rennes in '86, and Sonia, the priest, had found a couple of parchments that it had never been totally or satisfactorily decoded. Now, I'd left the mystery behind, and here I was in Lincoln in 2005, when suddenly the local newspaper ran a story concerning Lincoln Cathedral. Now, at the great east window within this great Gothic architecture and wonderful, wonderful building, at the scene of the Last Supper, instead, on the stained glass window, instead of there being a cup or a loaf on Christ's platter at the Last Supper, they discovered a dog. A dog? And it's there for all to see. It's yes, a dog. And the reason why nobody discovered this previously was it's so high up, it's such a small image, and it was only discovered when they were doing cleaning the glass. So it took a long, long time before this was discovered. So that set me off wondering, right, what an amazing anomaly. It's something so strategic, the Last Supper. So I wondered, are there any more anomalies within the Lincoln Cathedral? Right. So I scoured it, and believe me, I found an amazing amount, and they all interlock and support each other. The dog turned up elsewhere, on a station of the cross where Christ was going to Calvary. There was the dog again. It turned up 2 or 3 times. What is the significance of the dog? Right, I think I might be able to explain that, because in every Masonic lodge they have what they call a blazing star, and it's supposed to represent the dog star of Sirius. So it's something Masonic. Wow. And as Masonry evolved from when the Knights Templars were incorrectly persecuted and disbanded, Masonry in this country evolved from underground Templarism. So it looks like the Templars had managed to carry on the message through Masonry. Anyway, I managed to decode the famous Rennes-le-Château parchments, and they all just, fitted like a hand in a glove. There was nothing to tweak, nothing like that whatsoever. It fitted absolutely perfectly like never before, and it actually did lead opposite the southeast corner of Lincoln Cathedral to an X marks the spot. Now, at this time, Rob, two amazing synchronicities had occurred. First of all, the British author who kick-started the whole interest in the Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, and who went on his quest to France, his surname is actually Lincoln. So that's a weird synchronicity.
Yes,
and secondly, whilst I was doing my research in the cathedral, who should arrive at Lincoln Cathedral to film scenes for the Da Vinci Code but Hollywood itself?
Wow.
Can you imagine how I felt when I was a recipient of the news that Hollywood is coming to film the Da Vinci Code in Lincoln Cathedral when I'm there at the time investigating a very real cathedral code?
Now, in the Da Vinci Code itself, what part of the movie is actually shot in Lincoln Cathedral?
I think it was in the chapter house, what we call a chapter house, and it was when they were trying to decode the cylinder. If you remember, yes. The rose cylinder. That was shot in there. Quite an extensive scene. And I managed to meet producer Ron Howard and give him a copy of my own Lincoln Cathedral Code book at the time. That was quite exciting for me.
Now, this sounds more than just synchronicity to me. This sounds like more fate.
Well, quite honestly, the synchronicities, since I started pursuing this, Rob, I seem to have about 6 synchronicities before every breakfast.
Wow.
They are just so numerous that they are, in the DVD, there's most of them compacted in there as I unfold exactly what happened to me, authentically, But there's so much, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And they still come now because my work is not totally concluded. I still pursue it. Even though I have a location, there's still much coming my way still.
Do you think this mystery will ever be solved?
Well, because I have an X marks the spot opposite the cathedral in Lincoln, and I've successfully decoded the Rennes-le-Château parchments, which nobody had ever done, I'm a likely candidate for perhaps being the one that does solve this. Now, I did approach Lincoln Cathedral because, obviously there's been a lot of interest and press about all my work. And I said, well, look, I've got a location. It's a crypt under the ground where a church once stood. The church was demolished in 1781, the very year that the last person we know who knew the secret of Rennes-le-Château, a lady called Marie de Nigue in France, she died the very year that this church that has the crypt, which contains whatever I've discovered, that was destroyed in that same year. So I got in touch with the cathedral authorities and said, look, can I have a ground-penetrating radar scan on the exact marks of spot? I'm willing to pay for this myself. There'll be no structural damage. It's just a quick scan so that we can, see scientifically if there's anything there under the ground where I'm seeing there is. Now, I didn't have to do this. I wrote a couple of books explaining the mystery as perhaps I'm doing now. I did not have to take that risk and say, look, let's have a GPR scan and find out once and for all if there's something there, like I'm saying there is. I'll pay for it myself. Now, this was all in the press. The cathedral were quite happy with that. And then when it got nearer the date for the scan, they changed their mind and said, you can't have permission for the scan, and went ever so silent on me. Why?
Were they getting pressure from the Vatican?
I've no idea. I got in touch with the Archbishop of Canterbury in London to see if it could overturn their decision because they'd promised a scan and then reneged. But apparently, the Archbishop of Canterbury, who's the head of the church in England, can't overturn a decision made by a local cathedral even.
Hypothetically, if Mary Magdalene's body had been buried at that spot that you have marked with the X. And at the time when the church was demolished, isn't it possible that the body would have been moved to another place just in case somebody like yourself came along years later and started connecting the dots?
It seems she'd already moved, actually, because going back to the Rennes-le-Château mystery, people, Rennes-le-Château fanatics are looking for a tomb of Mary in France. They don't like the fact that I've, fetched the work and the conclusion over to England. But I do believe that Mary was for a time at Rennes-le-Château, was buried in a tomb over there, but is no longer there. She has been moved, courtesy of the Knights Templar, over here to Lincoln, England. I believe she was put in the church that is now no longer standing, in a crypt. The church was demolished when the lady in France who knew the secret also died. Now, whereas the church is demolished and there's no signs it ever existed, the crypt is still there under the ground. And all my clues, resulting from the Rennes-le-Château parchments, have led me to that exact spot.
What would happen, sir, and I don't mean any disrespect here, what would happen if you were to take your ground-penetrating radar, do your scan, and no body was there?
That has been said to me before. The possibility could be what you just asked of me a few moments ago, Rob, that maybe it has been moved again. If you read Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, which I know is presented as fiction, but a lot of people have argued had a great element of fact in there.
Definitely, yes.
I think he'd mentioned it had been moved 3 or 4 times in the history. There is a possibility that when people get close to pursuing it, it could possibly be moved.
You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Dan, please stand by. It's a great pleasure and honor talking to you. Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about the film that we're talking about, it's entitled The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. www.reality-entertainment.com is one place you can find it. Or if you go to YouTube and type in Dan Greene or The Murder of Mary Magdalene. My name's Rob McConnell. Dan Greene and I will be back on the other side of this news break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario.
It was a terrifying experience.
I thought we was going to go to jail for murder.
That day, we were a little behind, so we worked until it was starting to get dark.
We loaded up the equipment and hadn't driven very far when we caught glimmers of this glow coming through the trees. I urged Mike to hurry up and get up there.
Travis had the door open before we even stopped. As he got closer, I heard the sound.
One of the guys said, "You feel that?"
I really panicked then.
I told him, "Get the hell out of here."
It didn't come directly to me, it came to a deputy sheriff.
3 of us volunteered right away to tell him what had happened.
Sheriff Gillespie definitely didn't believe it.
He says that we better be certain because we can get in a lot of trouble.
When we went to search the next day, they split us up, and the whole time the deputies asked me, if you just tell us where the body is, we can all go home and get this over with.
We're talking about 100 people combing through the wooded area. Nothing turns up.
All week long, I've been hearing they're going to set it up to make you guys look guilty.
We're a rough-looking bunch then. Some of us have been in trouble with the law before.
And y'all ain't never going to come out of that jailhouse.
We couldn't get out.
I tried to sneak out the back door the day of the polygraph test. I was scared to death.
On top of that, you have media.
I literally would be on 2 telephones at the same time.
We've even got some coops in here now that's coming in and out to see the freak show, as they call it.
Everyone descends.
I just wasn't going to stand there and listen to it anymore.
Granny says, "This is Travis. I'm back. I need help." When I did hear that he had been returned, it was almost as unbelievable as the original thing.
I just looked at my mom and says, "I told you we didn't kill him."
Travis Walton reappeared after several days with a bizarre story about a ride in an unidentified flying object.
People were desperate to explain it away. Why are you sticking up for Travis for all this time? You know this really didn't happen.
What happened to Travis after we took off in that truck, I can't tell you.
I hated Travis for a long time after this. My whole world just tore up.
But I believe every word Travis said about it. He's never lied to me about nothing.
It's a net negative. We lost our jobs in the immediate aftermath.
And now you're not able to talk about it with anyone because you know that they're going to laugh at you, they're going to look at you like you're crazy.
But if you don't come out and tell your story, somebody else is going to tell it for you.
There's a degree of responsibility. Certainly I have to accept the bad. If I can direct what's happened in a way that I can make something good happen in the world, I'm looking for it.
Order your copy of Travis, The True Story of Travis Walton, today at www.traviswaltonthemovie.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Dan Greene is my very special guest this hour of the X-Zone. We're talking about a new film exposing the concept that the Catholic Church was implicit in a holy genocide. The name of the film is The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. And you can find more out about this, let's see, I was going to say exciting, but it's not. It's very intriguing and a very thought-provoking film at www.reality-entertainment.com, where you can go to YouTube and put in the keywords Dan Greene or The Murder of Mary Magdalene. You and I were talking off-air during the commercial break with the news, Dan, about the possibility of what actually might be down there and what people may be fearing you discover with this, with the deep scan radar or sonar reading that you want to do. Why do you think the church changed its mind? You must have an idea or a gut feeling.
It would be the biggest embarrassment ever if they went along with my request and then we discovered Mary Magdalene or documents rewriting biblical texts and such. They'd obviously wish they hadn't done that. So I think, they're not going to take the risk maybe because, if they thought my research was incorrect or whatever, surely they would, let me have the scan, and from their point of view, they would think, well, he won't find nothing's going to happen here, then that would be the end of the story. So if they really believe that there's not, that I've got this wrong, and they'd like to see the back of me, why don't they just let me have that scan?
I think they should.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't, and I agree with you that the truth must come out, because what if the entire theological stories that we believe are all lies? Don't we deserve the right to know the truth?
Well, that's exactly why I'm doing this, Rob. Truth is truth, and sometimes truth hurts. But, because the Ren Le Chateau mystery made a lot of sense, had a lot of evidence backing it up, it really was something that needed to be researched, and I picked up that gauntlet. I would just like to point something out. I've got so many notes in front of me, and I'm trying to squeeze a few in.
Go right ahead.
In 1995, the Dean of Lincoln Cathedral did something rather amazing. He announced to the British public press that he thought that Lincoln Cathedral was the battleground between good and evil, and he asked that the cathedral be closed for 3 months to be exorcised. Now, what was that all about? Could that have something to do with the fact that Lincoln Cathedral are a culprit hiding some secret concerning Mary Magdalene, and that the battle is to get the truth out? But what an amazing thing for the Dean of a cathedral to suddenly say to the entire British public, and that was 1995.
Now, 3 months, wouldn't it take about 3 months to exhume, fill in, and move secretly a crypt?
That's a good point. I've not actually thought of that one, Rob. That's a good point. And whilst we're on, I'm looking at another note I'd like to definitely mention.
Sure.
That in 1800, a chap called Matthew William Peters, he had been a member of the Royal Academy of Art in England, and he was famous for his paintings of, I have to say, salacious women. Now, he gave up working as an artist at the Royal Academy, and he went on to become the canon of Lincoln Cathedral. And what he did when he was here was he painted a painting which was called the Annunciation, and it was supposed to be that of the Virgin Mary. But when you take a look at the painting, you can clearly see she's dressed in red. She has all the, what is referred to as the sacred feminine aspects. She has the red hair. It is clearly not of the Virgin Mary. It is the iconic image we all recognize as Mary Magdalene. And what she's doing in the painting is looking over a short distance at a plinth, a black monolith, with what looks like scrolls and documents on the top of it, and it matches exactly the marker tomb I have discovered opposite the southeast corner of Lincoln Cathedral.
Well, that sounds very mysterious to me.
And I've showed the painting to your Margaret Starbird, who's quite a well-known person in amongst all this stuff, and Margaret has agreed with me that that is an image of the sacred feminine.
Once again, I have a real hard time with all the mystery behind this. The truth has to come out, all right? And, if if Jesus was a rabbi, he did have a family, so what? So what? So the Son of God was more human than we'd like to, or certain members of the church would like to accept. But once again, I bring it back to the very beginning of theology, where God said, "And let us create man in our image and our likeness." So his Son was one of us. I think that's fantastic.
And it's natural, of course.
Right. So why wouldn't the church want the truth to be known? Unless the entire myth about Christ was not real. And they're suppressing...
Well, that's something else, Rob. I mean, as I say, my work I'm still persevering with my work. There's lots that I can't say at the moment because I need to let people take in the movie first. Sure. Obviously, I'm a good distance ahead of that now. Yeah. And yes, you may have touched on something there. That much I will say.
I've always said the greatest conspiracies in the world are not being committed by any government but the Vatican. But that's just my belief. Why do you think...
Well, carry on, Rob.
Why do you think, Dan, that for so many years people thought the Holy Grail was actually the chalice that was used at the Last Supper? And it's taken so long for the clues to be accumulated or assimilated that the chalice was the child that Mary Magdalene was carrying.
And I think everybody accepts that now. I think when we were believing it was a chalice, it was medieval days, it was centuries ago. Our understanding perhaps was not up to speed as it is now. People were still kept in the dark. They weren't allowed to think for themselves. They could be persecuted for that. But now that, we're free spirits and can think for ourselves, this is why we've arrived at that conclusion, I think.
But are we free spirits, and are we allowed to think for ourselves? My goodness.
Well,
schools around the world are still teaching children that Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas, and we know for a fact that the Vikings were over here, the Egyptians had to trade with the Native Americans, and that, of course, the good old Irish discovered the first pubs in America 500 years before Christopher Columbus ever stepped foot on the Americas.
I think what we can safely say is that new information, new revelations are coming out all the time, constantly. Everything's changing and becoming more of a greater clarity and understanding. Things that have been deliberately obscured or hidden or misled for whatever reasons, religious or political, they're now coming out. I mean, I don't wish to talk about the Catholic Church sex abuse scandal at the moment, but I mean that has come out. That is an absolute disgrace on the Catholic Church. I mean, over the last week here, there's more claims coming from Holland, Germany, Austria. We've had it in Ireland, you've had it in America. That was one big secret, I'm afraid, that the Catholic Church could no longer keep hidden.
Yeah. You found a secret dossier in a library. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Well, I'd already arrived at my X marks the spot by decoding the Wren parchments. And then by pure serendipity, which is, I think the psychologists call it a chance find. It's like when you're looking for something, but it finds you. Right. I was directed to a library in Grantham, which is maybe 20 miles away from Lincoln Cathedral. And a dossier that had been deposited there, it's their prized possession. They don't know exactly who or when deposited it, but it's dated 1917. That's the year that the parish priest Sonia died at Rennes-le-Château. And it's allegedly written by Victor Hugo, France's most famous novelist, and alleged second last Grand Master of the Priory of Sion. That's all involved in the Rennes-le-Château mystery. Now, it's definitely not written by Hugo. I've analysed the writing. But anyway, it's a quest for a search for a village called Wyville. Now, what makes this so bizarre is that right next to Grantham is an actual village called Wyville, ever so small. So we have this dossier with its cryptic clues and illustrations that start in Wyville, and yet is looking for Wyville. Now, that doesn't make sense. But when you follow the clues that's in the secret dossier, not only does it lead to the same area where my conclusions are, but it really looks like it's a Masonic document, and it's not actually the place name Wyville, which is W-Y-V-I-L-L-E, but it's actually a Masonic play on for Wife Hill. Not Wyville, Wife Hill. The wife, of course, Mary Magdalene, wife of Jesus. That's what it seems to intimate.
Very interesting.
Now, the library, I have no idea when that was deposited or who by. You just have it locked up in safety. It's ever so obscure. I don't think anybody really knows about it. It was pure chance that somebody mentioned it to me, and they said there seems to be a document in the library written by Victor Hugo. I had to check that one out, and the rest is history. But that in itself is a mystery, the Wyville document. But it's certainly not Wyville, the actual place name nearby the library. It's Wife Hill. And it leads you there, and it leads you at the same spot that my decoding of the Rennes-le-Château parchments do. Now, among the illustrations that go with the Wyville document are interesting, because they have knives and daggers there. And that's what really set me thinking, why have we got the introduction of daggers? Because if you view Lincoln Cathedral by the air, it's in the shape of a cross of Lorraine, which is a Knights Templar emblem. And that emblem is also known as the double cross or the double dagger. So I noticed that straight away. And then I started thinking, if we found some remains or evidence of Mary Magdalene or her bones itself, why is there a dagger involved? And then I thought of Da Vinci's famous painting, The Last Supper. Now, if you take a look at that canvas again, people who believe in the Wren mystery, and Dan Brown also promoted that next to Jesus, it's not St. John, it looks very much like a female, it's Mary Magdalene. A lot of people accept that.
Right.
Now, if we just carry on with that belief, directly next to the Mary figure is Peter, and he's making that very menacing gesture across Mary's throat. And also, as everybody now knows in the Da Vinci painting, there is a disembodied hand close to Peter, and it's wielding a knife. There's no argument over that. Everybody can see it. So you've got a very menacing Peter next to Mary and a disembodied knife whilst he's making a threatening gesture across her throat. And of course, the Catholic Church was founded on Peter.
Yes.
So daggers started to come into the whole scenario. I then discovered a few years ago, in 2002, there was an announcement. There'd been a private Swiss collection of paintings, and one of them was a Da Vinci, which we'd never seen before. The public only got to see it in 2006. It's been authenticated. It's definitely a Da Vinci, and the painting is of Mary Magdalene. Now, when we take a look at the painting, she's holding a veil, but if we look a little bit above the veil, we'll see scar tissue. And she's holding a crumpled piece of garb, which when you understand how people used to paint things cryptically, the shadow in the garb actually looks very much like a dagger. So in this painting, we have scar tissue at her left abdomen and a dagger in front.
Oh, wow.
So then I set about looking for other possible indications in Magdalene paintings of a wound, because now we know what we're looking for. We might just see it through a different pair of eyes. The brain's a very strange thing. You only see what you expect to see. I think that's a phenomenon we call scotoma. But anyway, another painting by Francesco Hayez of the Penitent Magdalene. There again, you could see in the same place, the left abdomen, scar tissue. People would say it was just folded skin, of course, but now we're looking through a fresh pair of eyes. We're looking for a wound.
Dan, stand by. We've got to take our final break. Dan Greene is my special guest. www.reality-entertainment.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. Dan Greene is my special guest, Exonation. We're talking about a new film that explores the concept that the Catholic Church was implicit in a holy genocide. The name of the film is The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. It can be viewed by going to youtube.com and using the keywords Dan Greene or The Murder of Mary Magdalene, and you can check it out at www.reality-entertainment.com. So, how many more of these paintings of Mary Magdalene have you noticed the scarring in?
Well, Rob, in the DVD, obviously I say my research is still ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't mentioned one as we've been speaking today. It's in the DVD, and it's the one for me which clearly shows to an audience that Mary Magdalene died by a dagger wound. You can see the wound, you can see the dagger. That's as much as I'll say at the moment. It's in the DVD.
Final couple of questions for you. First of all, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. What can you tell us about the unexpected find of the tomb of the unnamed woman, which you say is the red herring of the quest?
Well, when the Da Vinci Code was being filmed at Lincoln Cathedral, another amazing synchronicity happened. As they were laying down the wires to provide further illumination, they discovered a tomb that they had no information about. It shouldn't have been there. They just discovered this tomb. They had no, as I say, no information, which is ridiculous, because if you've got a tomb in the precincts of Lincoln Cathedral, mm-hmm. the amount of paperwork that would need for that to be allowed to be buried there would be a record of it somewhere. So anyway, they hit a coffin. The archaeologists concluded it was of a female with her head missing, and it dated back to the 14th or 15th century. Wow. Now, I believe that for anybody who ever believed that the Magdalene could be in the vicinity, this was the red herring. This was a tomb that people could perhaps find and think, right, well, this is it, and there's no treasure there, there's no documents, nothing, give it up. Because the tomb that I've located mm-hmm. is only about 400 yards away from this one. But when it was discovered, just accidentally by workmen, the cathedral had no information on it whatsoever, and certainly didn't know it was there. So that gives me the freedom to say, well, if there was one tomb there that they never knew was there, can't there be another one? But I believe this was a red herring, that at some point in history, provisions were made for this to be put here, so that if anybody was searching the area for the tomb of Mary Magdalene, they could find this or would find this, and they would think that was it, concluded. It's a red herring.
Dan, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight here on the X Zone. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and thank you for sharing some of the insight into the new film that is out, Exonation, The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. Dan Greene has been our very special guest this hour, and Dan, once again, our many thanks, and great job.
And thank you. It's been wonderful.
You take care of yourself. I hope to have you back on the show. We'll be able to talk more about this fascinating mystery
You watch that DVD, Rob. You watch that DVD.
I promise you I will.
Okay, sir.
You take care of yourself, Dan.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye, Dan, and I'd like to thank the good people at Reality Entertainment for helping make this interview possible with our guest this hour, Dan Greene. Once again, the name of the film, Exonation, is The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. www.reality-entertainment.com. I'll be back on the other side of this news break at 6.5 minutes past the hour as the X Zone continues right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.